Hi, I'm Gretchen. This is the fifth video cast in the Servant program. Today we're going to talk about results. Here's the question. What are your results? So you've identified your desire and your cause, the one who is helping you obtain this desire. You've identified your process, and you've at least begun to identify the effects you experience when you engage in that process. So now it's time to look back at all that and say, okay, I'm doing all these things, and where am I getting? What is happening? Am I obtaining my desire? So stop and pause this video and answer that question. We're going to have a lot of questions in this video, and I'm not going to cue you to stop the video each time, but I'll pause for a second before going on, and it would be very beneficial if you stopped the video and wrote down the answers to the questions and pondered them, thought about them. Okay, so stop now and we'll be back in a sec. A result is when we obtain our desire or an incremental step towards it. So we picture our pathway that we've been talking about, the inherent pathway to arrive at our desire, and we're not just going to get there, immediately. It's going to be in incremental steps. So tracking those steps is really important in maintaining our motivation to continue in our process until we reach our final destination. So take a minute now and answer this question. Are you obtaining your desire incrementally? So we're just going to take a few minutes and talk about what a result is, expand it a little bit. A result is a continuous process. It's an ability, it's a talent, a skill, or a good habit. So if you think about the results you're obtaining as abilities, can you identify the abilities that you are obtaining in your desire obtainment process? We often use the words result and effect as synonyms, but I separate these two meanings. A result is a continuous effect. So sometimes when we're engaged in a process, we may like how we feel in the moment, but then after the process is over, we may feel a different feeling. And whatever feeling is most continuous in our day-to-day lives, that is the result we're looking for. That's greater evidence that our process is balanced or is imbalanced. If it's a desirable effect, then we can be sure that our process is balanced. So my question to you is the way that you feel happy, confident, at peace, full of energy, is that increasing on a day-to-day basis, or is it stabilizing, increasing in continuity? Is it globalizing so that you feel it in more and more of the situations in your life? Answer that question and we'll be right back. A result is also a relationship. It's how our relationship is improving with other people in our lives. So we have those people who we look to as causes, and that relationship should be improving as a result. And then we have the relationships with our children, and those relationships should also be improving as a result. So take a minute and determine, are your relationships improving as a result? So when we obtain a desire or an incremental level of our desire, we become a cause to be able to help other people obtain the same level that we have already obtained. So if I have an ability and I've worked hard or diligently to obtain it, then I know the pathway, and I can help other people who are coming along the pathway behind me. And it's like I can lay a bridge for them in areas that have not been forged before. I can be a forerunner for them because I have crossed that pathway and I know how to do that. So we're looking at that as a concept that whatever desires that we have obtained in the past, we can then turn around and help others to obtain similar desires. So, are you helping someone else obtain the desire you're incrementally obtaining? A conflict becomes a resultant state when we continuously engage in that alternative process to try to obtain our desire. So we become entrenched in alternative habits, bad habits, and they continuously block us from being able to get back on the pathway to obtain our desire because the trenches are becoming so deep. We can't just hop over anymore, back and forth. They are actually blocking us from being able to obtain our desire, being able to engage in the inherent process to obtain it. So think about that. Are you unable to make progress in your desire obtainment process? In a resultant conflict, we're actually going backwards with our abilities. We're losing them and creating inabilities instead, bad habits instead of good habits, and weaknesses instead of strengths. So how's that going for you? Are you losing your abilities or are you gaining them? And then the effects become more continuous also on the other side of that spectrum, and that's sorrow. Sorrow becomes a continuous state, chronic stress, loneliness, fear, or apathy, a state that we can't get out of. We can't make those feelings stop. And that's when we're trapped in sorrow. So, question for you, are you trapped in sorrow? Instead of healthy, fulfilling, loving relationships, in resultant conflict, we are developing relationships with conflicting causes and their substances. So it's more like bondage, and we can't get out on our own. Is your desire to get out of bondage?